Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today we're going to be diving into a jungle guide on Zarus. Now, I gotta tell you guys, I don't know if you are sharing this sentiment with me lately. I promise you, just trust me. I think Zarus is a top 3 jungler. This guy is insane. He specifically takes advantage of a couple of insanely strong items that we're going to talk about, and let's go ahead and jump into it. Zarus. I'm also going to show you something that I think is very easily overlooked, and I'm going to tell you why it's very easily overlooked, but let's dive into the build guide. So, first and foremost, this is the recommended builds or recommended items for Zarus. I think that going a Mind Razor build is fine. You can get a lot of damage, but I don't think it's his best option. Just keep that in mind. I've built it. You can start off with a Chalice, stack up. Not a terrible option. Give it a try if you want. It's a little bit more damage CDR focused, as opposed to like a more true to bruiser build, which is what we're going to be talking about here. Augmentation first slot. This item, I'm pretty sure is just broken. It's pretty much good on most bruisers, especially bruisers that are looking for cooldowns, which Zarus is definitely looking for that ability haste or cooldown reduction. And 3,200 gold, it's a phenomenal starting item in the jungle. It is 40 physical power, 300 health, so really good power, good health. 20 ability haste. It's one of the highest hastes you can get in the game, and it has true strike passive, 2-second cooldown on ability use. Empower your next basic attack within 4 seconds, dealing 40% of your physical power as true damage on hit. So true damage, if you're not familiar, I'm starting to kind of dumb things down a little bit sometimes. No offense for calling it dumbing down. True damage is damage that ignores mitigation. So if they have armor, you're doing true damage. It doesn't matter. You just hit them. It hits really hard. Overclocked passives, 20-second cooldown on casting your ultimate. You gain a 15% movement speed increase for 6 seconds. This is particularly good for Zarus because he's a very speedy boy in general. So yeah, when you dash, he goes faster. So that's going to make him fast as well. So augmentation, really solid item. The next item, I'm going to give you an alternate to it, but the next item I think is one of the most slept on items in the game. And I say it's slept on probably not from the competitive community, but from like more of the casual, I guess, new player community, Berserker Axe. This item is... Again, I'm reluctant to call it busted, but it's busted. This item, 40 physical power, 300 health. You're seeing a theme, right? 40 physical power, 300 health. Really good bruiser items. That's why they're listed as fighter items. 15 ability haste. Again, pretty high on the ability haste. You want to spam that spear. You want to be able to dash around a bunch. 3% movement speed. So this just gives you 3% movement speed. And then it has blitz passive, 12-second cooldown on dashing or leaping. Zarus dashes. Empower your next basic attack within 12 seconds, dealing 40 plus 3% of your max health damage, slows by 50% for 0.75 seconds. So almost like a 1 second 50% slow. I mean 0.75 seconds. Basic attacks reduce blitz cooldown by 0.5 seconds, and then Mist Runner, crossing a fog wall, you gain 20% movement speed for 1.5 seconds. So you're seeing the theme of this build. We're building movement speed a little bit. We have some built-in movement speed. We're empowering that auto. We're bringing a bunch of like post ability, empowering that auto. We're building ability so you can spam the spear to use the auto and proc these abilities, and really playing off that haste. For the sake of saying for the crest, I didn't say it, so we'll go ahead and jump back in time. It's Icaro and Talons. Icaro and Talons, 10 physical power, 100 health. You see the theme: power, health, 10 haste, and then you create an ice sheet around you for 15 seconds. Allies in the sheet, sheet's a weird. Allies in the sheet deal 15% more damage. They also gain 15% movement speed, more additional movement speed. Enemy units on the sheet are slowed by 15%. This is a phenomenal item for Zarus for the crest option. Now, next couple of items, you can go really tanky if you need to. I'm going to give you some quick tanky options that you can build if you need them. I'm just going to throw them out there. I don't think it's the way that you go, but let's say you're the main frontliner for the team. Nobody else picked a tank or nothing like that. Ella Frost. This is essentially the augmentation version, but for tanks, right? It's got that true strike passive, but this one's called Frostblade. Solid health, physical armor, haste. Really solid option. Tainted Guard. If you really need to get a Tainted online and you need to go tanky, Tainted Guard is the way to go. Really, really solid item. Stonewall. Phenomenal tank item, right? I'm giving you guys the same tank items that you would build on other tanks. Keep this in mind. Now, I did say that I wanted to give you an alternate to the Berserker Axe. If you want to get a Tainted online, but you don't want to go tanky right away, Tainted Blade, very, very good on Zarus. This is 45 physical power, 275 health, 15 ability haste, and this is reduce the target's healing by 40% naturally, and then Hex on dealing ability damage to blighted targets, cause them to take 10% more damage. This is for anybody. They just take 10% more damage, so this is really good to bring to the team as well. This is if you need it. again, I think it's like if you really, really need it, but I think that building this is just priority. So just throwing it out there as an option. I think this is like the core 2 build that you build. For me, like I said, I was giving you some physical armor items as tank options. For me, the next item is Citadel or Tectonic Mallet. We're going to talk about both of them. This is like a really solid core 4 item build that I think that you could build almost any game on him. Citadel, if you're not familiar, is a fighter item. It's not a tank item, but it is a fighter item. It gives you 35 physical power, 200 health, so good physical power, good health, and 40 physical armor. So you can actually kind of see a trend here, right? Like the actual fighter items that don't give armor are going to be more health, more power, and they bring some haste. This is like a little bit less power, a little bit less health, 40 physical armor, so you're actually building some mitigation. And then you have fortification for each nearby enemy hero gains 6 physical armor. This is really good on like bruiser tanks. This is pretty decent on Greystone. It's pretty decent on Chimera. Pretty decent on Rampage. Really good on Zarus, right? Like it's good on these heroes who are just going in who can actually use all of these stats. You don't build this on somebody that can't use the stats, so you wouldn't build this on Steel or Richter or anything like that. But this is a solid item that has the potential to give you, 6 times 5 more physical armor, right? So that's an additional 30. This could be a 70 physical armor item. It could be. Probably won't ever actually be. But with Zarus Cage, you jump in, you dive in, you're standing next to 1, 2, 3 enemies. That's an additional bit of armor there. Now, Intimidation is the second passive. Physical armor of nearby enemies is decreased by 20%. So it's not a pen item, but it's a pen item. Does that make sense? You're not actually building armor pen, but this is armor pen. And keep in mind that this is armor decreased for the enemies. This is your teammates are going to do more damage. So this is great for jumping into Zarus, making yourself tanky, doing more damage, making your carry do more damage, right? Making your offlaner or your jungler do more damage. Tectonic Mallet. Again, the reason why I said it's either Citadel or Tectonic Mallet is because this is magic armor. This is physical armor. Build the one that you need in the third slot. Build the one that you need in the third slot. I'm going to say it again. Build the one that you need. Don't just follow the build in order. Tectonic Mallet. 35 physical power, 40 magic armor, 10 ability haste, 5% movement speed. So you're seeing the theme, right? We want to go fast with Zarus. Now, Magnitude. Gain 20% of your bonus movement speed as physical power. This item's going to give you a lot of power. I'm not going to quantify it. It's going to change. It's going to be variable. This item's going to give you a lot of power. This item is going to give you a ton of power. You're stacking power on your ultimate. You're gaining increased power off of your Iceborne Talons, which makes you faster, which gives you power. You're building a move speed build on Zarus. That's what you're doing. Harmonic Absorber, while slowed, gain 10% movement speed. So while you're slowed, it actually speeds you up a little bit. So it kind of counteracts that. Now, for the last item, build what you need. I don't usually go past the 3 slot. I think that you can build this as a solid 4 slot in almost any game. You can build this in offlane if you want to. You can build this in jungle more specifically. Last item, I think Mutilator is pretty good. It's a 40 physical power, 15 ability haste, Omnivamp. This gives you the ability to kind of brawl with tanks and kind of sustain yourself a little bit. I think any of the tank items that I talked about are solid. Any of these tank items that I talked about are solid. I think if you need it, you really need it, build a Crystalline Cuirass. This is pretty good. This will give you movement speed if you need an additional magic armor. Physical power, is there any other items I would recommend? We're about to go to 6 item slots, so this could change potentially. I think that these items are pretty solid. Basilisk is not the worst item you could build on him. It does have a good amount of physical ability haste, so keep that in mind as well. You don't tend to bring... I don't tend to think of this as like a really phenomenal item on him, but I think it's fine. It's just, this is more of like an auto-attacky item. Not necessarily, but it's on damaging hero, so I think that he's a little bit more single target than the AoE characters or the spammy autos like Chimera can use this item well. So I don't think he builds up the corrode as fast. So I just don't think it's as high a value an item on him. But yeah, friends, there you have it. I think that's my thoughts. Not a bone saw kind of a guy on this guy, and anything else we've mostly touched on it. So. Yeah, I think there you have it. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Hopefully you find this build to be very successful. I promise you it is. The synergy that goes on throughout the majority of the parts of this build, as well as the fact that he does have the evade. So let's talk about that. His E, or evade, is dash in your current movement direction, gain 15% movement speed. So yeah, you're gonna go faster. Oh, and this is the thing that I said is often overlooked. Let me show you something. We're gonna read it together. I need to gain haste. We're going to read it together. Barricade. Unfold a shield for 1.75 seconds. Gain 60% forward-facing damage reduction. On recast or after the duration, swing the shield. It deals 211 damage at the current time. Increases up to 422 damage based on duration. People, please don't do this. Please don't do that. Do this. If you can. Keep in mind, you can tank Primal Fangtooth with this. It's damage reduction. You want to hold the stun. I know that it's enticing to just kind of pick up a character and do this, but people don't read, so just keep that in mind. You can feel free to read the rest of the kit if you'd like to. That's all I got for you. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to future Predecessor content. As always, be sure to be kind of well. Tell someone you love them, and I'll see you in the next video.